Before I put the cloth covering on this, I need to provide some form of padding on the rear end here. Now, when this is put into the window opening, this piece on the inside doesn't fit flush with the chrome window frame, and it's probably about, I don't know, about that much, quarter of an inch, probably a bit less than quarter of an inch, but it needs a bit of padding so the cloth is pushed out and then pushes against the chrome frame. It also needs some padding down in the bottom section here, in here, because the along the bottom is where the polished wood goes, and the polished wood sits probably a little bit above the bottom of that, but it leaves a gap in here, and that needs a bit of padding just in around here, so it just forces the cloth down onto the polished timber. So I've got to do that before I cut the cloth. I've got different types of padding. I've got wadding in here, which I'll probably use along the back, and then I've got this thicker upholstery padding, which I'll put down into here, which will provide a nice soft pad that'll push against the timber. So I just need to do that first, and I'll work out how I'm going to cut the material and put it on here. One step closer to covering with cloth. Thicker pad here and a thinner pad around the edge there. That's where I'll fold that over, and that will provide a reasonable thickness to fill out the gap between the trim and the frame. So next I've got to cut the fabric. It's going to be a little bit difficult to keep the material straight, particularly around the tight curve, so I'm going to have to cut it back. I guess it's a bit like the wooden frame here, where it's cut on the back so it fits the curve. So I'll have to do the same with the material as I come round there. It'll just fold over this. None of this should be seen from outside the car, so it won't matter if it's got little slits along here, but I need to be able to pull it over and glue it onto the timber at the back there. I've managed to cover the piece, although with some difficulty. Getting it around the curve here is hard, trying to avoid creases. I've got a couple of small creases, but I really can't get rid of them, but it's only in certain light that I can see it anyway. But it is on. I haven't put the markings for where the screw holes are. I've marked those on the back of the material, in behind the back of the frame here. So I'll have to get something to push from the rear and locate the holes on this side. So I'll do that next. I'll go and see how it fits in the car. Hopefully the extra padding I'll put in will make up the gaps that were there originally, and I'm also hoping that the extra padding hasn't made it more difficult to fit the piece in. So anyway, I'll go and see how this works. It fits in place all right. The extra padding is actually forcing it out, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to push it in and then screw it, but it seems to be right. It seems to be fitting well around the edges, and so I'm reasonably happy with that. The timber will have to be pushed in as well, because the padding is pushing that out, and I haven't fitted that in place yet. It's just sitting there. I won't be able to do that until I've done the little piece in here. This is a vinyl section in here that I've got to do. But what I'll be doing now is just trimming off the excess. I'll fit this in. I'll get some screws and screw it into place, so that's finished. And then I'll start on the other side. I haven't done anything there yet. I've got to put the sound deadening on the panel there, and I'll do that side. Once I've done that, I'll do the D window again, and I've got to provide a cover for the rear shelf. So this material only comes to here, and obviously to there, and there's a piece in this section I've got to do. It's not a piece you can actually see unless you look in through the back window. It's just a cover piece, so it really doesn't involve a lot of work, hopefully. This section is coming along slowly. I'd originally tacked it up with some staples. I've had to take those out because they weren't in the right position. I've now resorted to using my upholstery pins, which I probably should have used in the first place. So I'll just, it looks like it's right now, I'll just recheck that. Then, as with the other side, I'll glue this section first and then tension it up and staple it. And the rear windows I've put into cars over the years have always been pushed in from the outside. This one's pushed in from the inside, which makes it extremely difficult. You can't get any comfortable place to sit, and you can't get an even pressure to push it out. So it's going to be extremely difficult to get in. What I've done so far is just put some metal tabs around the edge, so I've put it in the hole, but there's a lot more that's got to be done, because there's a lip on the outside of the rubber that's got to be pulled up and over the body. Whether you can see you might see the profile there. It's this bit on the right. It's got to be pulled up and over the body. So you've got to be outside to do that, and inside to push, so it will take two people. I've got some cord inside the rubber around the edge of the window, and that's the traditional way of pulling this lip up, is you pull the cord and then you push. So whether that's going to work or not, I don't know, but I've certainly give it a try. But anyway, I've got in the hole, but it's going to take a lot of time to get that in place. So far I've been able to work on my own and pull this lip up, and I've started on the bottom. I've pulled it up. I haven't used the cords yet. I might leave that. I'll continue on with what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm using just a brass rod, hooking that under the lip and then pulling it out. It's very difficult around the corners. That's the tightest corner, of course. Same around here, but I've been able to pull it out. It's going to be difficult working across the top, mainly because you can't really see what you're doing. Easy if you turn the car upside down, but that's not an option. But at this stage it's gradually going in, and what I do is that I've been pulling this lip out and then going inside and then pushing and then retightening the brackets. So as I pull the lip out, I'm able to push the window in further, and I'm also pulling it down too. So that's going to be the difficult piece, because at the moment it's wanting to push up, and I'll need to continually adjust these tabs as I progress around the window. I honestly didn't believe I could do that on my own. The saving grace has been the addition of these metal tabs. By putting those in, I was able to actually hold the window roughly in place by working from the inside and then going outside and then pulling the rubber up over the body and then coming back in and retensioning. So it's a lot of mucking around, but it just proves you can do it on your own. It only took probably a couple of hours to do. So I'm pleased it's in. I'm going to leave those tabs in place and then I'll finish covering this piece and then I'll screw that in place. That will provide added reinforcement for the tabs that are already there, so there should be no way that the window is going to pop out. So I'll cover this this piece here. I'll put it on and then I'll address the material on the top just under the window there. So it's almost finished at the back here. I've finally finished the covering around the rear window. I've screwed that in place. I've put the material on the back shelf. As I said, you can't see it. You actually can't see half the rear of the car because of the back of the seat, but nevertheless it was covered and it is covered now. I've yet to do the strip around here in terms of putting it on. That will help tension this headlining along here. So that's still got to be done. And unfortunately I can't put it up yet because I've run out of the cup washers that are used under those stainless screws. I've had some on order for quite some time, but they still haven't arrived, and I've used up the last of my stock, so supply is becoming a bit of a problem. I've got quite a few parts outstanding, waiting on things to be delivered, so it's becoming a bit of a stumbling block. There are things I can do, but I'm reaching the stage where I actually have to stop and wait. Now I have been producing these videos every month, doing a monthly update, but with the delays in supply and also the amount of time it's taking to put this trim in place, it might be better if I go to a 2-month gap. And so I'll publish, after this video, I'll publish updates on this car every 2 months. Giving them that much time should enable me to show more actual progress. This is extremely labour intensive, so you spend a lot of time for little to show for the work you've done. So I'm hoping that with a 2-month period I'll get the supplies and I'll be able to actually appear to progress much quicker in terms of the video production. So the process I'm going through now is to finish that. Then I'm coming down on the trim on the side. I actually have the vinyl for that. I've got to source the thin enough timber to go behind that. That shouldn't be a problem. I've got the covers to go in here that I've already done in leather, but I've got to work out a way to fix them in place. And also there's a weather strip I've got to make on the inside of the door from the top of that wood there down to here. Now I've actually got the material and things to do that, but so I've got to put that in place. Then I'm not sure, I'm about to order carpets, and there's a lot of carpet work to do in here. Not too sure about the delivery times on that. I can proceed with the door trims, and there's quite a lot of trimming to do on the doors. Not only the door cards, but there are, I'm not sure whether it's the front or the rears, but there are armrests on one of them. They've got to be done. There's carpet on the bottom of the doors. I've yet to do the little hand grabs that hang down from there. I've got the leather for that, but I think I've got one pattern I can use for that. So there's a lot of trim on the inside of this car. It's amazing how much there is, and it all just takes time upon time and time. You know, extremely labour intensive. Anyway, I intend to continue on the interior. I'm still waiting on some mechanical parts. Some are being refurbished, and I've been waiting a considerable amount of time for that because of COVID. Still haven't arrived, so that stops me from finishing the braking system. So, and there's some coolant parts that I still need. So, as I've said before, there's not a lot to finish the car, but there's a lot of time involved in one, getting the necessary pieces, and more importantly, getting the time to actually work through putting these things in place. Working in the back of the car there has been a nightmare. As I've said, you can't get comfortable no matter what you do. You can't sit and face the work that you're working on. You're working sideways, you're working on your knees, trying to bend in all sorts of angles. Hopefully that's the worst of that problem. I've got more space in the open area in here, of course, to work on carpets. That should be a little easier, but I've still got the problems of working in these corners, and not only working there, but working out how I'm going to trim those. I don't have any patterns or anything to go on as to how it was done. I've got bits and pieces that tell me there was timber in there, so I'll assume that was the case, and I'll work on the basis of a vinyl covered timber to get that done. Not sure whether that comes down around the doors. Probably not. It'll probably be the weather strip that comes down there, because the cover I've made for this will cover most of that up. So there's still a lot to do. I shuddered at the thought of how much it would cost to get someone to completely upholster a Consort. There are just so many pieces to it that, you know, I had a Model T Ford, just an open top car done 30 years ago. That cost me $4,000. The amount of work in this is just incredible. But anyway, I'll finish it. It's just going to take time, as it always does. But anyway, this will close this video, and I won't produce another one for 2 months. By then I'm hoping to have certainly all of this rear finished, all of the top up there done, and certainly some of the cards done anyway, at least. Not too sure what difficulty I'm going to have in terms of fitting those on, but I'll know once I start anyway. Anyway, there should be a lot more to show in terms of things getting closer to being finished.